Okay, welcome to the Pinkhouse. I am to bring this young lady to you guys. My special guest today is someone known to me. I said, but I'm gonna learn a lot more about her, and that's Miss Neand Linton. Neand is living with something that you all may not have heard of before, and that's called Pompe. Am I saying it correctly? Is that how you say it,
Correct.
Neand Pompe? Okay,
Y-
Pompe
yes.
MD. And so we're going to let Neand tell us a little bit about herself and ask her what life has been like living with Pompe MD. So, Neand, tell the Pink House about yourself. Introduce yourself.
Okay. Um, Nean, I'm 52. I have Pompe muscular dystrophy. Um, I'm now in a wheelchair 24/7. Um, nah, I'm a
How old were
Jehovah
you, Neand? Let
Witness.
me ask you this. How old were you when you first diagnosed with it?
When was I first diagnosed
How
with
old
it?
were you when you were first diagnosed?
Oh, how old was
Uh-huh.
I when I first? I was like 34 when I was first diagnosed with it.
Wow. And so prior to getting the diagnosis, had you been having symptoms and didn't know what was happening, what was going on? What
Yes.
how did you
Prior
get
to me
discovered?
being
Okay.
prior to me being diagnosed, I would fall a lot. Didn't know what was going on.
Okay.
Um, Actually, it's a genetics disease. I was born with it. Didn't know I had it
Oh wow.
until
Okay.
after I became 34. What happened was I was living up here in PA and I fell on some black
Okay.
ice
Oh
and
wow.
I hurt my hip and I thought I broke my hip. And so I went to my doctor and he did exams, the x-rays and everything and the CAT
Mm-hmm.
scans, and they came back and they said, "Well, your knees ain't broken, your hip ain't broken. We don't know what's wrong with you." After a couple weeks, I shouldn't be walking with a cane anymore. I started walking with a cane.
Okay.
Because as I was walking, my right hip would pop out of place.
Oh wow.
As you're walking, you could hear it popping out of place.
Mm.
So it made me like walk like with a limp. Um,
Okay.
so after a while of that, then I had to go through all these doctors, and then they started testing me for everything under the sun. I had
Okay.
a liver test done. I mean, everything. They diagnosed me with
acute
with can't,
acute immune hepatitis.
yeah, acute immune hepatitis, which is not
Oh
contagious.
wow. I never even heard of that one.
Right. They diagnosed me with that first, and then from there, they, I'm like, well, something's got to give. Something's not right. I had an argument with the
Right.
doctor. The doctor accused me of being an alcoholic or a drug addict because my liver
Wow.
enzymes were so messed up. They
Right.
were enlarged. And he was like, "You got to be doing something." I'm like, "Look, I only drink wine like at Christmas time at my
Right.
in-laws' house. You know, that's it.
Like special occasions.
Special occasions, I might drink a glass of wine here or there, or whatever.
Right.
I don't, I don't do anything. I did my, back in the day when I was a teenager, I'd smoke my weed or whatever.
Right.
But again, nothing major to mess me up.
Right.
So I was like, "There's nothing, I'm not any of these things." So then they kept testing me. They did a liver biopsy on me. Um,
Wow.
then they did a biopsy muscle on my leg.
Mm.
And this is all up here in PA at the Lehigh Valley Hospital. They did it here, and then when the test came back on my leg, the biopsy on my
Mm-hmm.
leg, they said, something's going on, something different's going on here. So then they gave me two options. I could either go to Hershey Medical Center and be
Mm-hmm.
tested, or I could go to John Hopkins. I chose to go to John Hopkins because that's where my family's from,
Okay.
and I didn't know what kind of test they were going to do. to, if I had to go in the hospital for a couple of days, whatever. That way,
Right.
my family could watch my children, because at that time I
Right.
had 4 young children at the time. So they could watch my children for me while I went to the hospital and had my work done. Well, so I went to John Hopkins. I was in there one day. That's it. They did their test and they told me exactly what I had with a couple tests that
Wow.
they did. They had to confirm it by doing a blood test, which they prick your finger and they take 5 drops of blood from your finger, and then they
Mhm.
send it away, and it takes about 2 weeks for the results to come back. They said that, that I had Pompe,
Okay.
and and now you'll need to be coming here for um physical therapy, to come see all our specialist doctors, because now you're going to need a lung doctor, you're going to need a heart doctor, you're going to need a neurologist,
Geneticist.
a geneticist. You're going to need all these doctors now.
So when they first diagnosed you, when they finally gave you the diagnosis that it was Pompe, were you still just walking with the cane, or had you progressed to something else, or were you still using the
I
cane?
was with a walker by that time.
By that time, you was with the walker.
That was with the walker, because
So how
that
long
was
from the
from
time you fell between the time you got the actual diagnosis? How
I
long
fell
did
in
that take?
06,
Uh-huh.
I was diagnosed in 07.
and I was diagnosed in 07.
So it took a year before you really
Took
found
a
out
year
what was
before I
going on.
got finally to a proper doctor to finally, you know, listen to
Okay.
me that something else was going on. And then in 2010, the end of 2010, I started my treatment.
Okay. So why did it take the treatment so long to start?
It wasn't.
Because
It was considered a child's disease.
it's considered sick. It's considered a child's disease,
Okay.
and usually, they find it if it happens, you're going to receive the symptoms at birth.
Uh-huh.
But I have the adult onset,
Okay, adult onset.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
and at that time, they didn't know too many adults who had it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Only 1,000 worldwide.
We're probably about 1,000 at that time in point
Worldwide.
worldwide.
Oh, so it's more common in young children and young people as opposed to adults.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
They
because you
don't
have
make
to have
it to adulthood.
Yeah, because usually the children don't make it to adulthood.
Oh my goodness.
Back then, before they found the medication,
Okay.
you have
Life
to.
expectancy was 9.
Yeah, like the life expectancy was 9 years old.
Oh my goodness.
When you were born with it, you were born straight with a trek right into a wheelchair, the whole 9 yards. But then they came up with medication. They found a researcher, and what's his last name? Help me out, Lord. John
Crowley.
Okay.
His 2 children have it. He has 3
wow.
children, and his 2 children have it.
Okay.
Him and his wife funded the money and got funds to, earn money, did fundraisers, whatever, to get the money together, because their child was getting ready to turn at the age where she was getting ready to pass away. Her name is
wow.
Megan. And so they did a whole movie on them.
Oh man. I'll have to look that up and see, to check it out.
That's starring Brandon Fraser.
I can't think of his name. Indiana Jones.
The dude from Indiana Jones. I'm so sorry. I don't remember what his name is.
Oh, Harrison Ford.
Thank you. Harrison Ford. I'm sorry, Mr. Ford.
That's okay.
Harrison Ford, Brandon Fraser played the 2. Brandon Fraser played the father. Harrison Ford played the scientist.
Okay.
He's the one who discovered the medication.
Okay.
And so in the movie, they were able to get the medicine, give it to their children, and the children survived.
Oh man.
Yes.
So
His
with the
daughter just
medication
graduated
now,
Actually, his daughter just graduated college. She just graduated from
wow.
one of those big ones was
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Get out of here. So that medication makes a major difference as far as
Yes.
the treatment modality. Okay, so
Yes.
wow.
Now mind you, being that she was born with it from birth, she's still in a wheelchair. She's
Okay.
still with a trach.
Okay.
You know, I've been blessed, and that's how I look at it. When people say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," I'm like, "Don't feel sorry for me." I feel blessed because I lived a good life before I got stuck in this wheelchair.
Okay.
And you have to make it what you make it of.
That's
You live
right.
two ways: happy-go-lucky or
Oh, poor me.
oh
Depressed
poor
and
me.
upset. Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not an oh poor me person.
No,
I
you're not.
I don't like don't play that pity game with me. I'm no.
Right.
I don't play pity on nobody.
So
Um
go ahead.
yeah. So we started the infusions in 2010. I go to at that time I was going to John Hopkins. I moved
Okay.
to John Hopkins in '08. I mean not to John Hopkins. I moved to Maryland in '08.
Right.
Um to start my infusions. I got to start my infusions in 20 at the end of 2010
Okay.
because at the time and point the medicine was only available for
Children.
children and the older people.
Okay.
Because of my age, I was not entitled to the medication yet.
Wow.
And they were going through the whole AFD nonsense,
So
protocol
let me ask you a
nonsense.
question.
Yes.
Before you were approved for the treatment, were you seeing increased symptoms or what have you in between that time before you were able to start taking the treatment?
Yes. Like it took me longer to walk a flight of stairs.
Okay.
I lost the ability to where now I don't walk at all now.
Okay.
But I was not able to, walk stairs. I couldn't climb steps. Even an inch step. I couldn't even step up onto an inch of a step.
Okay.
Um can't lift anything over 5 pounds.
Okay.
And if it's on the floor, if I bend over, I wasn't able to stand straight back up.
Wow.
Um Getting off of a chair, if I would go somewhere and I would sit, I would look first where I was sitting at because I'd have to figure out if I have to get up and run to the bathroom. Well, not really run, but hurry to the
But girl,
bathroom. How would I get out of this position to get to the bathroom without having an accident on myself?
right.
Um, because again, I was having accidents because I couldn't get to the restroom fast enough. That's one of the downfalls of it.
Right.
I had so it, I myself I just learned different ways and found different tricks so I could do things on my own
Right.
because I don't like to ask for help.
Hmm.
I don't like having people do stuff for me.
Right.
I'm a control freak.
Yes, she is.
Can we tell that about you, Neand?
Yes, she is.
Yes. So like I have to, I have to get everything, I want to do it myself. And if I
What are
can't
some of
do it,
the
I try to
things?
find a way to do it.
What are
Finally
some
it
of the
took
things? Mhm.
Me.
Go ahead.
um finally it took see, I didn't get into the actual wheelchair um until I would take it to doctor's appointments because the hallways are long going into a
Right.
doctor's appointment.
Right.
I would take it there. But like trying to be outside in public, I didn't want the wheelchair.
Okay.
Um Unless I was going on a long walk somewhere and I knew I was going to need it, then I would use it. But when I finally got into the wheelchair where I was like, all right, you know what? I'm done. It's time. I think let's see, it was 2010, probably 2015. 2015 before I
Okay.
actually got into the wheelchair
Okay.
and stayed.
Right.
I mean, I would, and that was only because I was at my doctor's office twice and I fell twice in his office
Oh my goodness.
when he asked me to, because he would like get me to stand up so that he could videotape because he
Mm-hmm.
was the specialist for the Pompe.
Uh-huh.
So he would like video record me
Walking.
walking and and stuff like that. And when I get up and like sit up on their examining table,
Uh-huh.
I fell twice trying to get on their table.
Oh my gosh.
So after that, they were like, "No, you're in this chair. Don't get out anymore.
Right.
That's it. We're done. You just do everything in the chair from now on out."
Right. They don't want to risk that. Let me
Right.
ask you a question, Neand. What have you done to help you stay positive? Because I will say this. When I met you, you have a positive outlook. You, like you said, you don't have that woe is me attitude. And so what are some of the things that you do to help you mentally continue to maintain that positive outlook? What do you do?
Pray a lot.
Hey, yeah, that's the number one. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
But even before I became a witness, I mean, I prayed a lot anyway.
Right.
But yeah, I just pray a lot, and then I try to keep active. Right now I'm a foster mom. I take care of a foster child, and I take care of my grandson.
Okay.
My grandson's 8. He lives with me. My foster daughter's 4.
Oh wow, yeah. So yeah, you definitely got to keep after her.
And I've had her since she's like a year and a half.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, before that, I was in Girl Scouts. I was a Girl Scout leader. I was a Girl Scout assistant. I did things with my children all the time. Just as much as I could.
Now, how is your I know you're in the chair, but like how is like your hand coordination? Does that suffer too? Like your mobility with your movement in your hands and stuff, or is that okay?
No, my hand movement's okay, just unless I get like
Upset.
cramps,
Okay.
trotty horses.
Okay.
Like my fingers are like they'll curve sometimes.
Okay.
And then you just have to sit.
And then I don't mess with them. I just sit there and let them work themselves out. I don't touch them.
Okay.
Some people they rub them out.
I rub mine.
My sister, she'll rub hers out. I don't like the pain, so I just sit there. I just sit there.
What's the difference in the age between you and your sister? Who's the oldest?
I'm the oldest. It's 3 years between us.
Okay. And did when she started noticing hers, was it at the same age you detected yours, or a little earlier or later?
I started it actually I was diagnosed.
Tell her she can come around and get in the shot.
You can
come around and get in the shot if she want to.
Hold on a second. Can you see me? There I am.
Hey, darling, I got a 2 for this. The 2 for 1.
Yeah, it's a 2 for 1.
Tell me your name.
I'm Kathy Ferguson.
Hey, Kathy. Nice to meet you. So, when did you notice that you were developing the same thing?
I was actually diagnosed before I had symptoms.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because after Neand was diagnosed, they wanted, because it's a hereditary disease, they wanted her siblings to be tested. So I fought with my doctor for about a year to get them to do the test, and they wouldn't do the test. They said, just because your sister has it doesn't mean you do. And I kept explaining to them, well, her doctor wants me to have it done. And they didn't want to do it. So finally I called her doctor and I told him who I was and, that I was Neand's sister and that I wanted to be tested, but the doctors wouldn't test me. And he told me, he said, well, you come see me. He said, and I'll get you tested.
Wow.
So I went up and got tested with him in the end of September of 2008. And he called me October 3rd and told me that I was positive.
That you had it too. Wow.
And
And
so
so
October 3rd of 2008.
Okay. So are you now in a wheelchair as well, or you still have more mobility?
I have mobile ability. I am in a wheelchair.
Okay.
But I went in the wheelchair on my own because I lost the feeling in the lower part of my legs. I can still move them.
Mm-hmm.
But I lost the feeling in the lower part of my legs. And I was like hitting into stuff and not realizing it.
Oh, wow.
And had cut myself a couple times quite severely.
Know it.
So I was like, I didn't want to like hurt myself to right where I was really going to hurt myself.
Yeah, that's dangerous, and you couldn't feel it. Yeah.
Right. So I went into the chair on my own.
Okay.
Now I can't walk unassisted now. I have to have like a walker if I walk.
Okay.
Because the muscles in my lower back, it affected me different than it does Neand. Okay. Because like Neand can stand up straight. Okay. I don't have the muscle tone in my back to hold me up straight.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I have to use like a walker or something to walk with because I'm bent over.
Bent over, okay.
Where Neand can stand up, but she can't move her lower limbs.
Oh, okay.
To walk.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So it affects each person differently. Like we both sleep with a BiPAP. A BiPAP.
Oh,
I have a Trilogy. Yeah. I have a Trilogy machine, which also works as oxygen. Yeah, but it works as it's another word for it. Breathing. Like it works. It hooks to oxygen.
Okay.
Also, it's forced air. It runs as a BiPAP does.
Oh, but okay.
Oxygen can be hooked into to use as like I guess like an incubator.
Okay.
In case that were needed. And then I have oxygen that I have to sleep with at night. Because with me, my diaphragm is paralyzed.
Oh, man.
Or partially paralyzed. It still works slightly. But if I lay down, it like I guess the way the weight rests on it, it doesn't work properly. Right. So I'm not getting enough oxygen. So I have at night when I sleep, I have to sleep with oxygen and my BiPAP.
Oh, okay.
Where Neand only has to sleep with the BiPAP.
Now let me ask you, what do you find throughout your daily routine is one of your greatest challenges, Neand? What is one of your biggest challenges?
One of my biggest challenges?
Getting people out of her way.
Yeah.
Y'all funny together.
My biggest challenge, I guess, is going out right now. Because I don't drive anymore. I mean, I have a driver's license to drive. I just don't have a vehicle.
Okay.
I don't have a specialty vehicle. I have the mobility van.
Okay.
Like they do in Maryland, but theirs is different in Maryland than it is here. I have to call 24 hours in advance like you do in Maryland. Mm-hmm. But it costs a little bit more. Yeah, because I have medical assistance code. It pays for my medical rides to only medical places.
Oh, but if you wanted to go somewhere else,
if I want to go anywhere else, I have to give them a time that I have to be there, what time I got to be picked up at, so they can pick me back up. Okay. And then I got to pay out of pocket for that ride. And
how much does that cost on your own out of pocket?
Well, if I'm going from my house to Walmart, it's $5.50.
Oh wow, that is more than here in Maryland. Yeah, because I think here now is $2.10. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, if I was going from here to the hospital, I think is it $5.50? $5.50 from here to the hospital because she has to pay out of pocket to go to the hospital. She just didn't do her paperwork.
I was going to say, so why you got to pay to go to the hospital? Huh?
I filled it out a couple of times, and they told me that I filled it out wrong, and I just got tired of it. I was like, I'll pay the daggone money to go.
It can be frustrating when you're dealing with these different services and stuff because they can really frustrate you.
Yeah, so like if something was going on and I needed to go to the store right away,
Right.
I have no way of getting to the store. Then I have to
Right.
depend on people
People. Yeah.
to do it for me. And when I say people, I mean my children.
Right.
Now my Samantha,
How old is she?
she'll do it.
How old is Samantha?
Samantha is 26.
She'll be 27.
26, 27. But she's got a family of her own. She's a nurse. So she has a job. So I have to, I have to do it on her. I have to call her and say, hey, I need this from the store. You're coming over this way. Can you bring it to me? But now we do the whole online ordering stuff. So I usually try not to bother too many people with anything, really.
Right. Right.
I try to order it online now. I've learned how to do that.
Right. Okay.
But I get Lumazine every 2 weeks.
Is that an infusion? Or
That's my infusion.
That's an infusion. Okay.
Yeah. So every other Friday, matter of fact, this Friday coming in, I'll be at the hospital getting my infusion. And then it's $1 million medicine a year.
Wow.
It's probably more than that because I just had my bill out to see how much it was. It was $38. Let me pull it up real quick. How much it cost for this medication? Because when I first started getting the medicine, it took 10 hours to get it from start to finish. Yes, because you have to. What do you got to do? You had to go in. IV. They have to make sure that. Well, back then I was getting an IV in my arm.
Okay.
Because my veins got so wore out from doing it through all the years that I had to finally get a port.
Okay.
So once they get you access and they get a blood withdrawal, that means that they're able to give you the medicine.
Right.
Then you can go in and, in the beginning they got to give you a bag of saline to start you off with.
To flush it and everything. Yeah.
To flush everything out. And then after the saline, by then the medicine has been ordered because it takes an hour to mix the medicine.
Wow.
And it's very light sensitive. So it has to be brought up to you in a brown see-through bag.
Okay.
And you can't shake this medication. And I used to yell at the nurses when I first got with them because I went to a class and they showed us how to do it. Well, we went to a dinner and they showed us how they prepared the medicine.
Right.
And how, it can't be this and it can't be that and da-da-da-da-da, whatever. So I was like, all right. So then when I went to the hospital, they started messing up. I'm like, look, what are you doing? It's not supposed to be done this way. It's got to be done this way. It's got to be, you can't like pull it off and let me see what's in the bag.
Right.
Close the bag up. I know what's in the bag. It's my medicine.
But you know what, Neand? That's the way you have to be your own advocate. You do.
Right. You have to be your own advocate.
You're dealing with this nurse. She might be new to, you know what I mean? And so it takes the patient sometimes to be the one to say, no, that's not how they do it. That's not how it's supposed to be done. So that's a good thing. You got to be your own advocate in medicine. You do.
Right. So so I had to be my own advocate. So I had to tell them. And then the doctor, Dr. McGowan at the time at Johns Hopkins, he was a good doctor. Oh, I loved him. He left and he went to Florida for more Pompe research.
Okay.
He would come every Friday to see. Well, every week that I was at the hospital, he would come down and see his patients personally, and spend at least a half an hour with each patient.
Wow.
That was in the.
That's a good doctor.
That was in the infusion room.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Dr. McGowan.
Yeah. And then I was upset when he left But
So
I understand why he
is
left.
that the only form of treatment? The infusions? It's no other type of treatment. Is that the only form? The medication by infusion, or do they have other treatment modalities?
They have another infusion
Mm-hmm.
that they are starting certain people on, but your insurance has to
Approve it.
approve it. And to my knowledge, neither of our insurances have approved it yet.
Okay.
I have actually been approved for the second one, for the new medication.
Oh.
But they need my new weight. And I'm not able to stand up to do a weight. So next time I go to the hospital, they have to weigh my chair, get me out of the chair, weigh the chair, put me back in it.
Okay.
And then subtract it to find out how much I weigh. Because I
Okay.
can't stand up on a scale.
Right.
You know, without, because again, their scales are not flat. And I'd have to be able to step up onto a scale. And I cannot step onto the scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My medicine right now that I'm taking, we call it Lumazine, but it's actually do you know how to pronounce that word? If not, I'll just show it to her.
A glucosade. A glucose.
Let me just show it to you. Can you see that?
Let me see, girl. You know I got these crazy. Oh, L-glucosidase. L-glucosidase. That's what it is. Al.
Yeah. So that's the medicine I'm taking as of right now.
Okay.
That's the initial name for it, but we call it Lumazine.
That's what the company calls it.
Yeah, that's what the company calls it. That makes it. What was I looking for?
And you said it cost. What did you say? It was $1 million a year for this?
Yeah, medication? It's about $1 million a year. Wow. I'm pulling up a bill now for one of my infusions. It says that let's see here. Details. So I get billed $384,269.40. Now my insurance, catch your breath, everybody.
You saw it.
Now my insurance pays $3,700. I mean, no, $3,076.
$376,000.
Oh yeah,
$808.
And 70 cents is what my insurance pays.
Okay.
So I have to pay out of pocket $7,460.70 every 2 weeks.
Oh my! Every 2 weeks of your life.
Yes. I'm $1 million baby walking around the streets with no money.
She said she $1 million baby walking around the streets with no money. I love that. Oh my goodness.
And who's got that kind of money to be laying around to be paying everything? Nobody. So I have to fight with insurance to get medical assistance.
Right.
You know, it's ridiculous. It's like I literally had to fight to get it back. Like I lost my medical assistance and I had to fight to get it back.
Girl. I tell you, this system is just so, it's so unfair, the disparities when it comes to healthcare and treatment. It's just unreal. Those numbers are unreal.
Yes.
That's mind blowing. I'm still in my mind. That's mind blowing. To think that somebody has a copay of $7,000 every 2 weeks. Unbelievable.
Now in the UK and
just about anywhere.
No.
Just about everywhere that has medical paid by their government, they don't pay anything.
Yeah, like people in UK, they don't pay anything. They get this treatment. Australia, they get this treatment. They don't pay anything out of pocket. They don't got to worry about a single thing. The government pays it.
My daughter-in-law lives in Amsterdam. And over there, you have to pay a $350 copay for the year.
For the whole year.
For the whole year. And once your $350 payment is done, everything else is paid for through the insurance the government has for you.
Wow.
Right.
Well,
Um.
I hate the fact that this is a genetic hereditary thing, but do you guys feel I guess not so isolated because you guys are going through this together?
Um.
We have our moments.
Yeah, we have our moment.
Keeping it
Well,
real. That's it. Keeping it real.
Yeah. Well,
we have our
see,
moments.
Neand was so far gone by the time I was diagnosed. She was already having the problems with the walking and the falling, and I hadn't gone through that.
Right.
And when the doctor first said for me to be tested, I was like, why do I need to be tested? There's nothing wrong with me.
Right.
I'm 3 years younger than Neand. When Neand was my age, she already had issues.
Okay.
There's no way that I can have it. And the doctor told me, he said, no, he said, hun, that's not the way it works. There are some people that are affected by it at birth. There are some people that are affected as teenagers. There are some people that are affected midlife. He was like, there's not many, but there are some.
Right.
And so then when I was first diagnosed, when he first called me and told me, I was actually out driving my car, and I had pulled into 7-Eleven. The girl that was with me needed to get cigarettes. And I had pulled into the 7-Eleven, and the doctor called while I was sitting in the car waiting for her to come out. And after he told me, I sat there and I cried for about an hour. And I couldn't even move my car. And the girl that I was with, she finally got me into the passenger seat, and she drove the rest of the way home. And I just sat there and cried, and I was.
Wow.
I'm gonna take her off camera while she cries.
So neat.
I said, I don't want.
I wish I could give you a big hug.
I said, I don't want to be like Neand. And she was like, what do you mean? And I said, with all the problems she has, I don't want that, because I was a really physical person. The jobs that I had required a lot of muscle strength. I unloaded trucks for a living.
Wow.
I worked as an underground utility locator. That required me to walk 5 miles a day.
Can I put you back?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That required me to walk 5 miles a day.
Wow.
I had never did anything that was not like
Physical.
a physical job.
Yeah.
I always had the jobs that most people were like,
manly jobs.
right, like you do realize, and no, I'm not gay, and I'm not butching in any way, but I just always had the that was what I needed, something that challenged me.
Right. Right.
So it had to be physical, and I had the jobs that like when I was an underground utility operator. I always had my nails done, and people would look at me and they'd be like, as feminine as you look and you do a manly job, how do you keep your nails from breaking? And I'm like, well, I mean, I didn't keep them long. They just
right, but you just kept them done. Yeah.
And they was like, as feminine as you look and you do such a manly job. And I told him, I was like, I mean, I always had this problem that if somebody told me it couldn't be done because I was a woman, I had to prove them wrong.
Right.
And so I took that up into my work ethic to right where that was the type of jobs I did, was the jobs that people would say I couldn't do because I was female.
Mm-hmm.
And where Neand always had like the simple jobs,
The girly jobs.
The girly jobs. She was the cashier, and
I ain't getting dirt under my nails. Oh, no.
that
I
was
know
the
that's
type of
right.
job she always did. And and I'm thinking at the way Neand is, and the type of work I do, how am I going to support myself? I have 4 children of my own. How am I
Right.
going to take care of my kids
Right.
and take care of my house if I can't do anything? And I
Right.
think that was the hardest thing. And luckily, I learned before all that set in. So I was expecting it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't so hard on me when it started happening.
Right.
And Neand has been a really, really um, stronghold for me. So that's one good thing about her. And I have 2 other friends that right after I was diagnosed, I met them through Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
One is his name is Mick. He lives in Michigan, and he was diagnosed as a teenager.
Oh wow.
And then Jason is in Australia, and he was also diagnosed as a teenager. And the 2 of them and Neand were really who helped me through a lot of stuff. They were like my backbone when I needed it.
Yeah.
If I had a problem that happened, I would call Neand or write to Jason and Mick to, what do I do about this?
Right.
And, listen to what they had to say. So they helped me a lot.
And Mick and Jason are the ones who helped me out. She's the computer whiz. She's the one who found them for me. Because soon as she
Okay.
found out what I had, she started
So
doing
do
all
they have
the
a big like Facebook group for Pompe?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do now.
Yeah, they do now.
Because
There's several out there.
mm-hmm.
One is called
Pompe of Wales.
Pompe of Wales. One is called No Boys Allowed, Girls Only. but they're guys that get on it too that have the Pompeii.
Oh, okay.
So there's Pompeii allowance. There's all kind of
Because I know for me, I had breast cancer in 2017, and so I'm in like a couple of breast cancer support groups on Facebook, and they were and continue to be a tremendous help to me. Tremendous support because it's just and it's nice to have that type of community because like you said, Neand and these other 2 gentlemen, them having experience was able to help guide you along a little bit with what you are going through. And so those support groups can be, wonderful, especially Neand. And I'm sure you guys probably have explored, but like, do they have like any resources that would help people experiencing Pompeii as far as paying for uh, that out of pocket stuff that's left over from what these?
yes.
Okay.
It's an organization called PSI.
Okay.
Actually, another company took it over, but I don't know the name of the other company. I know it under as PSI.
Okay.
Those ones that paid for the ramp, right?
Yes, they're the ones that gave me the $8,000 towards the ramp. I needed a brand new ramp.
Okay.
And they give you an allowance once a year. You have to fill
Okay.
out a form stating why you need money. It's normally was supposed to be used for like medical bills or equipment or whatever. But because I
Right.
needed a ramp, I had to have a letter from a doctor stating I needed this ramp. My
Right.
doctor had to write the letter to them, to the company, to let them know she needs a ramp to get in and out of her house. She's in a wheelchair. She
Right.
lives in the trailer home. She needs the ramp.
Right.
So they granted me $8,000
Wow.
towards a new ramp.
Okay.
And then I had to come up with the remaining balance for the ramp.
Okay.
So this past summer, we got a new ramp.
Right. I remember you posting when the work was being done. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we had to come up with 2,000 or something.
Well, that's better than a whole 10,000.
Right,
Yeah,
because it was like
that
a
was a
little over
blessing. Yeah.
10,000 for the ramp in total. I
Okay.
think it was actually 11,000 and some change.
Okay.
Yeah, but between my daughter Samantha,
Mm-hmm.
myself, and my sister, we came up with the money. We
Okay.
saved a little money here and there, whatever, and we were able to
Had my children's father sent us some money towards it.
yeah,
Oh wow, it was
yeah,
nice.
and
He helps me out a lot.
yeah.
That's good.
So I had them send us the money, and then I
Mm-hmm.
gave the money directly to the man to pay for the ramp when the ramp was completed.
Right.
I say my children, but my children are adults. I have one minor child. He's 16.
Oh,
The
okay.
others are um 27, 26, and 24.
Okay. That's wonderful. Then let me ask you girls something. Do you guys still do like physical therapy for like your limbs and stuff that you don't get a lot of movement out of?
No, I don't.
No,
Y'all don't? No.
No, I
I
And
did
that's
it
didn't
not
until this summer.
I did when I lived in Maryland at John
uh-huh.
Hopkins. I
Mhm.
did go to John Hopkins and do it. Here in PA, I think I did it the first year I was here.
Mhm.
And then the insurance here only covers it for I think 3 visits,
Oh wow.
and then after that they don't do anymore unless the doctor. But then you got to go back to the doctor and have him fill out all this paperwork again. And
Started all over
I
again.
was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I don't need. I do enough. I personally think I do enough exercise
Okay.
to get around that
Right.
I don't need the physical
Right. The
therapy.
physical
Right.
therapy really doesn't do much anyway.
It doesn't do much anyway for me. I
Right.
mean, for
There.
others that are just being diagnosed and they're still up and walking around and they're not with,
That might help them. Okay.
it will help them. I'm not
Okay.
saying not to do it. Do it if it's you.
Right.
Again, each person is your own person. You got to know what you're able and want to do. Me, I think it's just a waste of my money and my time to go to a physical therapy place when I have to struggle to get
To
out of
even
the
move
bed,
around. Yeah.
because that's enough work alone.
Right.
Getting out of bed, because like again, I'm not like a normal person, but then that's me because I'm not normal. When I get out of bed, I'm gonna use my stick. This is my bed, so I'm
Okay.
laying on my bed, and I'm laying on my stomach. I pull my feet out like this. This part here is my feet
Mhm.
onto the floor. I brace my left foot to my wheel of my wheelchair,
Okay.
and then I push myself up so that I'm up like this,
Okay.
and then I pivot around to my potty chair that sits right next to my bed.
Okay.
And then when I'm done with that, if it's time to get up, because I'm a morning person, I
Mhm.
then proceed to either change my nightgown or put a dress on, depending on where I'm going.
Mhm.
And I'll get in my chair. I usually put my nightgown on. Um, I get in, then I pivot out off of that. I pull myself off onto my bed. So I'm leaning across my bed
Mhm.
to back into my wheelchair. And then
Okay.
I push myself up into my wheelchair,
Okay.
and then I push myself back and then put my legs up,
Okay.
on my footrest of my wheelchair. And then that's how I start my day.
Okay.
If I have to use the restroom, I have to go pull in, and then I have to pivot myself out of this wheelchair over, and I
Right.
have an aide that comes here 5 days a week
Okay.
for 2 hours a day. She's here in the morning with me. Sometimes she comes in the afternoon. She works around my schedule with me. She helps me get in the shower because again, I can stand with this wheelchair. It's called an eye level, so it brings
Okay.
me up to your eye level. If you were standing, I would be at your eye level.
Okay.
As long as you ain't a giant, I would be at your eye level. Because at my son, I'm not his eye level. He's a giant. I'm not his height. It brings me up pretty high, and I'm able to get to the edge of my seat and stand myself up.
Okay.
But because of my shower has a little lip on it, I have to have my aide lift my leg up and into the shower for me.
Okay.
Once she gets me in the shower, I close the door and I wash my whole,
Right.
my
Right.
body. I have a long brush that I can reach,
Right. Right.
wash what I need to wash. And then I rinse off. She gives me the towel. I dry off. I step out. She hands me my nightgown. I put my nightgown on. And then I twist myself around, lower my chair a little bit. I flop into, because I don't have that muscle ability to sit
Right.
like a normal person can just sit.
Right.
I flop. So I flop into my chair and then I push myself back in. To me, that's enough exercise. I don't need any extra
Right.
exercise.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Right. The diet. A lot of them are on diets. No. I eat what I want. I'm not
Wait
a
a minute,
diet
your face
person.
said it all. Your face said it
I'm
all.
not a
Like,
diet
no.
person. I'm sorry. I like my chocolate candy.
Well,
My
that's
Reese
not
Cups.
necessarily what the diet is.
I know that's not what the diet
You're
is.
supposed to be on a low carb diet
Right.
because carbohydrates
Aren't we
turn to
all?
sugar
Yeah.
in your body. And
Oh,
the
okay.
sugar, the enzyme that we are missing is called maltase acid or acid maltase, and that is what breaks the sugars down in your body,
Yeah.
in your muscles, so that it doesn't
Right.
set in your muscles.
But with
And
Pompe,
the
you don't have that
carbohydrates, of
enzyme.
course, turn to sugar,
Mm-hmm.
and when it goes into the muscle, that enzyme is not there to break it down.
Right.
So it like sets in your muscles, and that causes the tightness.
The weakness and stuff. Okay.
So
Got it.
if you are on a low carb diet, it's supposed to lessen the amount of tightness that you get, and the weakness from happening so fast. I'm on a low carb diet. I'm not on a no carb diet because that's just ridiculous. It isn't going to happen.
It's impossible. I think
Because
it's impossible to do totally no carbs because so many things, yeah.
Right, because like I asked the doctor when the doctor said it to me, I said, "Well, what does that mean? What are considered carbohydrates?" I have no clue. He said basically anything white. So that's bread, potatoes, rice.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like and all these different things, and I'm thinking, there's no way. So basically, you're telling me eat green vegetables and meat, and that's it. That's not happening.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a real big like sandwich bread type person, but I like muffins.
Mm-hmm.
I like, which is still a bread. It's made
Right.
with wheat or flour or whatever. I like muffins. I like raisin bread. I like, stuff like that.
Right. Right.
And no carbs means that's out. I like rice and I like potatoes, and you're telling me I can't eat them? No, that's okay. I can eat little, but I can't go without.
Right. So, but that in itself, a small change makes a difference. So even if you lessen the amount, not to, that still makes a difference. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
let
I'm
me
like
ask you
me, and I
girls,
like chocolate.
do you, do either you like have like just something like craft knitting or things like that to do with your hands that do you guys do anything like that to help pass some of the time or no?
Craft? Is that what you said? Crafts?
Yeah, do you do
Any type of craft,
craft?
like
Just
knitting
playing
or
video
things
games
like
on
that?
your phone. I play video games on my phone.
Okay, but see, that's a hobby. Okay, yeah, that's what you like. That's fine.
I play a lot of games on my phone.
Okay, my mom is a big mahjong. She plays mahjong on her tablet all the time. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it's a nice escape, a nice distraction, because especially when you're dealing with a complicated illness like you guys have, that number one, they didn't know what it was for so long, and then they found out. Day in day out, it can be mentally as exhausting as it is physically. And so one of the things when I talk to individuals that are dealing with whatever the disease process that you have is, what do you do for self-care? Because at some point you have to do some self-care to help you continue to deal with whatever your disease process is. And so that's always important to get that message out there. And so if video games is it, that's fine, because like it's making you think of something else. It's making you think of something different, and that's a good thing, because self-care is important regardless of whatever the disease process is. It's important that we mentally take care of ourselves, emotionally take care of ourselves, and so that's a good thing, because you do have an outlet unless you take a break, and I'm sure that 4-year-old keeps you busy too,
Yeah, my 8-year-old. Yeah. Well, I was taking care of my mother because she was in a nursing home, and then she passed away.
Yeah.
From the cancer, but she came home to die. But I was taking care of her while she was here, through hospice, getting ready to pass away.
Like her last 6 weeks.
Yeah, her last 6 weeks she lived here with us. So that kept me kind of busy, taking care of her, and then I'm taking care of my 4-year-old and my 8-year-old grandson, So I keep busy.
Sometimes the two of them are like 10 children themselves.
Right. And then my youngest daughter, Taylor.
How old is Taylor?
She's 22.
Okay.
She's 22. She'll bring her baby over. Now, he just turned a year old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, he's just starting to walk around. So she's here with him. And then so I have him here, during the day. Yeah, so
you still got all that long, pretty hair. I can't see how your hair is. You still got all that long, pretty hair?
No, I got aggravated with myself, so I cut it.
Okay.
I cut it.
But
it was longer. I cut it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was way long. I got aggravated. Yeah, I got aggravated with it, so I cut it.
Oh, but it's still long. It's still not as long.
Oh, yeah, it grew back because it was actually shorter than this.
Okay.
So it's actually grew back.
I'm like, she hiding it on me. Beautiful head of hair. Beautiful head of hair. Well, I'm not gonna.
Because it gets tiresome, with your hands. You're trying to
deal with it.
brush and long hair and whatnot. Yeah. I'm like, I'm just tired of this. I just literally pulled it over one day and just went cup chop.
That's my
girl. Threw it away.
I want to thank you both, you and your sister, for allowing us to discuss a very unique disease, because like I said, I hadn't heard of. You're the only person that I had heard of it having it. So this is the last question I want to ask you. So this form of MD is different than the other form of muscular dystrophy. This is a rare form of it.
Yes, there is 44 types of muscular dystrophy out there.
Really?
Wow. Yes. Is it ALS? Yeah, ALS is number 1.
Oh, you know what? I didn't realize that was a form of muscular dystrophy. Okay.
MS is also.
Yeah. MS is also part of it too, but
okay.
ALS is the number 1.
Okay.
MS is number 2.
And MS is number 2.
Okay.
And then you have like your Duchenne, which are boys only.
Okay.
Now this disease that we have, boys or girls can get it.
Okay.
And the movie is called the movie is called
Extraordinary
Measures with Harrison Ford and
I'm gonna look
Brandon Fraser in it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a really good movie.
I want to thank you both for your time, for just sharing your story with us, because the one thing I do believe these pink conversations do, they help, because sometimes this may be the only interaction sometimes people are having with other people by video. And so,
personally, to tell you the truth, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I thought it was all about makeup. That's why I never watched her video. I always liked it, but I never really watched it because I wasn't into makeup and hair.
Oh no!
And I just thought that's what it was makeup and hair. So I was like, I'm not buying no makeup and hair. So it's okay.
we do DIY night, we do crafting, we do journaling, we do
Yeah,
all
see?
kinds of stuff. Yeah. And I also feature this series because it's important, like with your disease and sharing that. And I don't know, the one with Kalita about the fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
I mean, so educational. It really taught so much, and the impact, the feedback of people hearing and like, wow, the impact that it had on them, because it could be somebody right now having symptoms of what you guys have, not realizing, and then they see this and think, oh, maybe I should go get something checked out, because you just never know. And so again, I
Well,
appreciate.
they've made it to right where they automatically
Uh-huh.
test babies in, I think it's 20 states. It is included in the newborn testing
Oh, get out. That's
now.
beautiful. So that they
And I
automatically
believe Maryland is one of them now
what is
that does the newborn testing.
Yeah,
okay.
because my children, my older ones, are all at that age, and they
Okay.
are automatically carriers because in order to have the disease, both of your parents have to be carriers
Wow.
because you have to get a bad gene from each of them
From each parent. Okay.
in order to
Wow.
have the disease.
The disease.
Because I have no good gene to give, my kids automatically get a bad
The
gene.
bad gene. Yeah.
So they are
Yeah.
automatic carriers.
Right.
So that was like one of the biggest things when they were having their children was the fact that, could this be something that I'm passing down to them?
Right. Hmm.
And a lot of people, as the adult population grew in it, they started, I guess more adults were worried about their grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they started making it in one state and then another state. Now I think they're up to 20 states that it is included in the prenatal. I mean the not prenatal, newborn testing.
Newborn testing. Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So like again for for sharing you with us, because I learn something every interview I do. I learned a whole lot today with you guys.
Yeah.
A whole lot. It gives you better insight, and I just want to thank you for sharing your stories with me. And what I will do, Neand, you guys stay on. I'm going to end the recording. We're going to say goodbye to the Pinkhouse audience, and let me end this recording.